Hi guys, I'm back in to do one of my drawing videos, and I waited until a nice sunny day, and it's not now a nice sunny day, but hopefully you can see well enough because it's light. This drawing, I use my iPad. It's not the greatest quality, I'm afraid, of camera, but I hope you can get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. And please excuse me, I'm coming down with a cold, so I've got my can of pop here because my mouth keeps drying out. When you're talking a lot, it's not good. Now I wanted to say again, I usually pop this in there, I am not a professional artist. I've been drawing for just over a year. I was asked if I would do these videos and talk about how I put my drawings together to get the end result, and that's what I'm trying to do. If you really want some professional advice on how to draw, then there are lots of videos by much better artists than me and professional artists all over YouTube, but you know, this is just a pointer, that's all it is. I have put together a playlist, so if you've missed any videos and you want to see what I've previously said, then check in my playlist. Now, excuse me, these videos aren't in the best order because I tried to do this video last time and it was too dark, so I talked about the tools I use. I probably should have talked about the tools I use when I'm drawing before I started talking about how I draw, but that's just hindsight, so it's too late now. Anyway, I have talked about the very first step of putting together a drawing, and that is to render the drawing, which is drawing the outline, mapping out the drawing ready before you put any details in, any shading and anything like that. You really need to render your drawing. I don't want to talk too much about rendering right now because there's a whole video on it that you can check out, but after you've rendered the drawing, then you want to start going on to the details. Now this picture here is the latest one that I've done. It's my cat, Cassie, who died last year. Yeah, another one. It was quite a year. She was a tabby and a ginger cat. One side of her face was ginger, the other side was tabby. She was like a jigsaw that had been put together wrong. And I found this the most difficult drawing that I've done so far, even more than drawing the likeness of a person. And I think that's because of the pattern on her face, excuse me. What was I saying? Yeah, the pattern on her face. When I draw something, I want to get the details as accurate as I possibly can, and each drawing I do, I try to get it even more detailed and even more accurate. Now, with this cat, or with most cats I would expect, especially tabbies, they have all different kinds of patterns, and I wanted to get the right pattern because if I didn't have the right pattern on her face, it wouldn't be Cassie. Now, I noticed, I don't know if you'll be able to see, she's got a shape here, and whether it's clear for you, I don't know, but to the naked eye, it's like a little duck, to the side of a duck. I never noticed that in life, but when I started drawing this picture, I noticed that she got this little duck on her face. More than 20 years I had this cat, and I never realised that a pattern made out a little duck. But if I hadn't drawn that, then it wouldn't have been Cassie. So what I do to get the details is I will bring up a photograph. Now let me show you on here, on my phone or tablet, anything that I can zoom in on. So here's the picture. Now that's not going to be very clear for you, but here's the picture that I copied this one from. And what I will do is I will bring up a photograph. You always want a reference photograph, whatever you're drawing. If you're drawing an eye or anything, you want something true to life because you can never really imagine how it's going to look. So you want something to reference it from. So I had this photograph of Cass, and what I then do is I will zoom in. Oh, hang on. That wasn't what I meant to do. What I will do is I'll zoom in like that, and then I can zoom in on the tiny details of her eye to get her eye right, to see exactly where the reflections are. You see the little light specks in her eyes. I can see where they are on here. I can see that funny shape on her face, and I can zoom in really. Oh, you've all got phones and things. You can know how far you can zoom in, and I will zoom in on each little detail, and I will just copy them as closely as I can because the detail really makes the drawing. It makes it it makes it who you're trying to draw. And then there's with a animal also, there's all the tiny little hairs. Now you don't need to draw in each tiny little hair, because shading does a lot, and that's what I'll talk about next time, is the shading. The shading really gives you impressions where you don't want to be drawing each hair on a cat. I mean, seriously, can you imagine that? So shading can fill in a lot of gaps. So that's what I'll talk about next time. But you do want to put some hair in there because you have to give it depth and so on. So what you need to do is you need to zoom in and you need to check what direction those hairs are going in. They don't all go in the same direction, so you want to look to what the directions are. Now I'm specifically talking about animals here, but you look at a human and you look at a photograph of a person, their hair will be going in different directions, depending on where it's brushed. Have they got a fringe? We call them fringe, some people call them bangs. You really want to get in on the tiniest detail, because the more accurate the detail is, the more it's going to look like who or what you're drawing. So you really want to pick up on that. Now, what was the other thing I was going to say about this? Yeah, and the strange thing is, you start to see it as a map, like rivers and mountains and streams. When you're zooming in on it, that's what you start to see. And it's strange because you'll be drawing such tiny detail, and then when you put your pencil down and you have a look at it and let your eyes zoom back out and look at the picture, you will suddenly see the person you're drawing or the animal you're drawing, and you're like, oh, it gives you a bit of a shock to see that, because you've been so focused on tiny bits. And that is what I advise you do. Focus on a section at a time. I always start with the eye, because for me the eye is really where all the expression is, and well, not all of it, because a lot of it's in the mouth and the lips too, but the eye really carries the most. So I always start with the eye. I'll do around the eye, and then I generally do the eyebrows. Not so much on a pet, but you know, and then I'll move down to the nose, and I will do the prominent sections first, so the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears, and then I'll start to fill in the gaps between them. So you just got to look at it as sections and slowly put it together. And then you step back and you look and you see the whole picture. There's really not much more I can say on that. It would be best if I could actually sit and draw something for you to watch me draw, but as I've said, I'm using my iPad, so it's not like I can put a camera on a tripod and point it over my shoulder and show you what I'm talking about. So I really hope you understand. But there are videos on here of people showing you what to do. There's some really good ones where they show you how not to do something and how to do something. So if you look up how to and how not to draw eyes, for example, that's really good. And something you really don't want to do is keep the hard lines in. So where you've rendered it, which I said before, I've talked about drawing the outline for everything. As soon as you've put in the details of the eyes, take out the hard line. If you put the details in for the nose, take out the hard line. And by the hard line, I mean that rendering line. Everything's soft. We don't have hard lines to our face. If you look at our mouth, our lips, it's just a soft line around the edge of your lips. So you want to get your eraser, whatever you're using for your eraser. I've used the putty, as I've shown before, and just take out that edging around the mouth, you know, just to soften it, because your face is not lines, if you understand what I mean. So that's really important. Don't leave hard lines in. If you look at the ears up here, the darker areas here are shading. They're not really the thick line from rendering. That really needs to go, that rendering line, once you get your details in. And yeah, that's about it for that, really. For me, my favourite part is shading, so I'm really looking forward to talking about shading, because I love shading. Shading absolutely brings a life into the drawing. It's like your rendering is the foundation, it's the skeleton of the drawing. The details is the, what would you say, the details, it's the likeness, it's the, it's this flesh, it gives it the flesh. So you've got the rendering is the skeleton, you've got the details of the flesh, and then the shading is the life. It just breathes life into it once you put the shading in. So that's why I really like the shading, because that just makes everything pop into 3D and brings it to life. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it's starting to get dark, so anyway, I'll let you have a quick look at this picture if I can just manoeuvre myself. There's my knee cracking, as always. Excuse the wobble, guys. Let me just move these things out of the way so you can see this. There you go. I don't know if you can see that little duck shape on her face, just this shape here. Possibly not. I'll have to put a picture up so you can see that. So there she is. There's my girl. Miss this girl. Anyway, take care, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!